whoever's going through the program will know that there's someone out there with half of their talent, but to double their discipline. And because of that, they have stronger self-beliefs and they're making more money and probably living a happier life just because they think it's possible, even though they're not as talented or skilled. And I think that's a mental barrier that pretty much anyone could take advantage of, because if most people just doubled their belief in themselves, they'd probably be way more successful, way more happy, and way more healthy on top of that.
Welcome to Changing the Channel with Joe Garner, a show about shifting our individual and collective beliefs on what is possible for the future of humanity. As our understanding of how our reality continues to shift, we are at a point of reunification between science and spirituality. What does the world look like when we break free from the generational trauma that has kept most humans playing small for thousands of years and step into our full power as the co-creators of this reality? I always ask that you keep an open mind with this podcast. Ask yourself what resonates with my truth at this time and what does not. Respect your intuition, but see if you can get through the whole show, because there might be that little nugget buried deep in the conversation that unlocks something for you. Welcome back, everyone, to Changing the Channel. We have another wonderful episode here, and I am joined today by DJ Vandiventer. And he is an incredible business leader, currently in the role of COO of Dr. Telex, and launching his own fitness platform, FitnessBlueprints.fit, which is a platform centered on physical health and cognitive function. So welcome to the show, DJ. Thanks for joining me today.
Happy to be here. Let's jump into it.
Yeah, so you're at a unique, I think, intersection of health, technology, and then business. So just share with me a little bit about kind of your journey into the, health and technology sector, as well as what you think the industry and where you think the industry is moving.
For sure. So I would say my journey into the health space, it's actually more recent than I think a lot of people realize. So my background is really sales and marketing. And I want to say maybe it was like right when COVID started, 5 years ago or so. That's when I first jumped into business. I come from a lower middle class home and area, I didn't know anything about business, didn't know what sales were, marketing, anything related to business or finance was just new to me. So I bought a marketing course because I always knew I just wanted to jump into something. So that started me down a few years of just focusing on learning marketing. And after that, I realized that I was good at finding people and terrible at closing deals. So obviously you have to learn sales to figure out how that works. So got into a full-time, very busy sales position, just closing deals day after day. And basically between the two of those, I had the compounding skills of sales and marketing. And the sales job I had was just a really questionable company and didn't have the best ethics and morals. So I upped and quit and spent about 6 weeks just visiting family, thinking about what I wanted to jump into next. And this was October of last year or September of last year. So I spent about 6 weeks off, and I just knew I wanted to get into the health space for no reason other than I knew I needed to take my health more seriously. And obviously that's something that would provide a lot of value to people if I could use what I've learned to help provide any kind of health. Obviously it was new to me at that time. It's still new to me in a lot of ways. So I applied to a few sales jobs in healthcare in different ways and lucked out getting a pharmaceutical job that jumped me into the health space and telehealth. And here we are today. So that's the first half of your question. The second half, remind me again, I think you said like where it's going in the future.
The journey to finding myself started with a shift in how I viewed my health. That is why I am proud to partner with Purium, the transformation company. What if you could support your health with a system designed for today's challenges? Purium is more than a supplement company. It's a solution for regenerative health. Their whole food products include the only clinically proven glyphosate detox, helping you eliminate the toxic buildup caused by modern farming. Pair that with Beyond Organic superfoods and the most efficient source of protein on the planet, and you've got a powerhouse combination to build muscle, improve digestion, and fuel your energy levels, all while promoting deeper sleep. Plus, Purium is mission driven with planetary health in mind. They're proud to lead the way in a plastic free movement using biodegradable packaging as much as possible. True health freedom starts here. Experience the power of this regenerative healing system for yourself and witness your own transformation take place. You get 60 days to try it. And if you truly don't feel any benefit, you get fully refunded. I have personally been using the daily Core 4 products and have noticed an increase in my energy and the depth of my sleep. Use the link in the descriptions to get started today and receive at least $50 off your first order over $75. Yeah, so you're at essentially it's like a telehealth company. So kind of tell me, where are we in the telehealth, the evolution into more of like a telehealth instead of
Gotcha.
going into physical hospitals, physical doctor visits, and what you think the future of that kind of looks like.
For sure. So that's something that's a fun conversation depending on who you talk to. I would say, I don't know the exact numbers, obviously, but there's definitely a side of people that work in hospitals and think telehealth is the devil. And then there's the side that thinks telehealth is one of the greatest things ever that's going to change the world. And I think regardless of, which side you're on there's definitely a lot of aspects to health that telehealth is just going to take over. And we're already moving in a more digital world in every aspect, let alone healthcare. So essentially what Dr. Telex is, which the company I work for now, essentially all we are is a doctor's network, and we offer a lot of different treatments and consultations for anyone that is in need. But obviously not everything can be through telehealth. If you break your leg, you should probably just go to the hospital, go to urgent. You get the idea. Obviously everything isn't telehealth centered, but something that a lot of the people in my network would tell you the same thing is more or less the world is already going more digitally. And with how many new treatments and, medications, everything that we're capable of giving people to their homes in the comfort of their own home, it's just growing rapidly, and people are learning new treatments, new therapies, and new ways to fulfill those to people in their homes. So every day eventually, I don't think anyone's going to have a primary care doctor in their local area. It'll just be on the internet,
Now, are most of your physicians in the network fully telehealth, or do they also practice they've got their own practice in a physical location and then they do telehealth kind of on the side or something like that?
I would say it's actually about a 50-50 split right now. We have about 14 doctors. I would say half of them have their own gigs, whether that's their own med spa, they work at the local urgent care hospital, something like that, and then do telehealth on the side. Others only do telehealth or similar platforms, just online healthcare, and that's all they do. So there's really a strong divide there. That doesn't go into the beliefs necessarily, just goes into whatever they want to do, obviously. But there's a need for healthcare in physical locations and telehealth everywhere.
Right. Yeah, I imagine it'll probably end up shaking out as more of like this blended healthcare system where, like you said, your routine checkups, you're feeling under the weather, you need a prescription, to physically go to a doctor's office seems silly at this point.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
I think that's definitely the way that we are moving towards. And like you said, if you're injured, if you have a injury,
yes,
the physical hospital is going to be where you want to be going to.
Absolutely.
Now, I noticed that Telex talked a little bit more about kind of a holistic approach to the healthcare system. Is that kind of just under the surface, or are they approaching it? Do they have, obviously you can't do like acupuncture through telehealth, but like, are they looking at offering more holistic solutions to it, or is it fairly predicated on the the system that currently exists?
So, well, I would say that actually my other platform, FitnessBlueprints.fit, is more the holistic side. So I might have mixed that up there. But going back to Telex, I would say it's also a split there. Whereas we have 14 doctors, like I mentioned, And some of them take a very holistic approach where they try to customize everything to the patient, and others that are more, this is what the medication requires, and this is what will probably work best for you. So, it just depends on the doctor, obviously, and it depends on what works best for the patient. Obviously, people want both sides of it. So we have some doctors that give their suggestions about overall healthcare, and others that say, do whatever you want, but if you take these medications, be careful with X, Y, and Z. You get the idea.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if, if that worked together in tandem, like more telehealth is going to lead you towards a little bit more of like a holistic approach, or,
Yep.
my reasoning would be they're kind of forward thinking people. So forward thinking people are usually forward thinking about multiple facets of their life. So
Absolutely.
just wondering if that was possibly the case. So, so let's get a little bit more into your background. I know you've been in business, you've done sales, you've done marketing, you've done all, and you've come up with this kind of blueprint for rapid growth. And I'm curious how that came about. What's the background behind this blueprint for the rapid growth? And then how can people use that blueprint to create rapid growth within their own life?
So just so I understand the question fully, are you referring to fitness blueprints or just my overall experience with business in general?
Yeah, it sounds more like overall business in general, and going from, I think you were fairly young as you were getting into the business world. What was that journey like for you?
So there's definitely a lot that goes into that, and I would say that anyone would say that anyone that's successful in any way could tell you there's a lot that goes into that, obviously. But I think for me specifically, it all drives from wanting more for yourself and being willing to learn more. Which I don't know what your thoughts are on this. I'd love to hear them, but I think that there's definitely a good chunk of the people in the world today where they get past school or maybe even college, and after that they say they're done learning. They don't say it, but they act that way. I'm done. This is how my life will be. I'm gonna live the same day every day, and if I don't like it, then oh well. That's just how a lot of people work mentally. I think that's just my personal belief. And I believe there's, maybe the 10% or whoever that every day they're thinking, what can I learn next? Or what season of my life am I going to jump into and try to tackle? And how will that add and compound into the success and happiness of my life already? So I think that's a huge part of just my mental belief in terms of what got me from a nobody in a lower middle class area to a COO of a doctor's network and building businesses, and you get the idea.
Yeah. So for you, what was that? What was the catalyst to that mindset shift? Like, what was it? Have you always had this drive to learn and be better, or did something kind of facilitate this new belief in you?
That's something I've thought about quite a bit, actually, and something that I'm open to discussing, but we don't have to dive into it too deep. Is when I was 18, I actually went through a pretty bad experience. I got falsely accused of rape and got arrested. Obviously for any 18-year-old, especially one like myself, I never had detention. I was never in the trouble world whatsoever before that. And then obviously getting arrested is probably the worst type of trouble you can get into, regardless of what happened. But so obviously that was a very scary experience for me. And I just tried to learn from it after a really hard few months of figuring out how the adult life was really. I was in high school at the time, so I got exposed from high school, got arrested, didn't know what to expect from life at that point. I feel like everything got taken away from me. And really that just led me on this path of I got myself in this problem, even if it was a false accusation that took everything away from me. Regardless, I have to fix it and get myself out of it. So I think that threw me to this is rock bottom. I can only go up from here, but I have to be humble enough to do what it takes to self-improve and learn whatever life throws my way.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest key. That's the biggest difference between people that, come back from that, the fall,
Sure.
that negative thing that happened to them. They take personal responsibility. They take the
Absolutely.
responsibility, even though it wasn't their fault. They had nothing to do with it,
For
but
sure.
they take personal responsibility in getting out of that situation, in taking, not necessarily taking the blame, but taking the authority to
Yeah,
say, hey, this did happen to me, but I'm moving on. I'm going to create
absolutely.
this next chapter of my life. So it's incredible to kind of to see that and to understand that, again, that it's such a tough
Yeah,
circumstance, for you to be involved in, and no fault of your own. And I'm sure, growing up in a smaller town, as soon as that hit the news cycle and everybody in town knew about
oh,
it, there's no going back. There's no,
withdrawal.
hey, I was absolved. I was cleared. Like, I didn't do this. I'm sure that stigma sticks with you for many, many years after that. And
For sure.
um, it can be, yeah, definitely difficult. I've had, my run-ins with the law, and been arrested a few times,
Yeah,
and it's always a humbling experience.
for sure.
Again, never doing anything I didn't think was wrong necessarily, just kind of wrong place, wrong time,
Yeah,
situation. And yeah, to kind of get through that and get out of that, and to not focus on that being who I was, and where I was going or where I was heading, really helped me just turn it around, and just move on from those experiences.
yeah,
It was a difficult but
like
fairly
terrible.
short experience to kind of just move past
For sure.
that.
For sure. Very abrupt thing to go through.
Yeah, exactly. So tell me a little bit more about the online platform, that you've started, and what are the goals with that platform?
For sure. So I think probably everyone knows that you can go online and find a workout plan or a fitness program, any type, almost anywhere. Like, it's very simple. You can find a $10 one, you can find $1,000 one. Like, you can find any kind of fitness plan, workout program just from looking on the internet. So I started FitnessBlueprints.fit without a real goal in mind, and it's kind of developed as time has gone on. And essentially, the idea is what we want to do is help people not just with their workouts, but help them be able to do their workouts better and gain more from it, whether that's mentally or physically. So it's more of a free platform that we're going to build rather than strictly fitness and workouts, if that makes sense. So I have a partner that's building like a physical therapy or maybe like a at-home mobility program, you could say. Um, and these are going to be built out like courses you could buy online, just like anything else. You'll get videos, you'll get content to read, resources, X, Y, and Z. And what I'm working on currently is just a cognitive function / mental recovery platform, which I don't know how open you are to everything that goes into that, but I know like we did the meditation right before this episode today, and breathing exercises, yoga, everything that goes into just inner peace and mental health. I want to be part of that, and that's the goal. So
Yeah, tell me about like the aspect of the cognitive health that you're cultivating. Like, what parts of the mental health are you focused on right now that you're trying to get clients to be able to take on as well?
so I want it to be, I don't know about 50/50 exactly, but definitely a good chunk have it be physical activity for mental health and for cognitive function. So, things as simple as going on a walk, doing stretches, going to the gym if you're capable of, being active. Everything from that to limiting your social media, your screen time before bed, sleep
Mm.
schedule. I kind of want to have it built out to where even an expert in a certain field can purchase the program and still benefit from one or two sections, even if they're very knowledgeable on the other sections. Because I feel like mental health is one of those things that a lot of people are very eligible or experienced in certain things that are good for mental health, but there's such a wide range of ways that you can improve your mental health, improve your focus. It just depends on what you're looking for, obviously. Everyone's at different stages of life and needs to work on different things. So I really want it to be an overall view of what cognitive function and mental health looks like. And that way, anyone can do it, whether they're a drug addict or they're already a successful business person. Like anyone in between can benefit from.
Gotcha. What are some of the exercises that you're doing as far as like, do you have meditation involved? Is there like a yoga program that you're doing?
So I'm no expert in terms of yoga. That's one thing I'll say right off the bat. That's something that I'm trying to learn a little bit more about. Obviously, stretches is something that everyone does, and I try to do regularly. But I'm partnering with a psychologist or a mental health expert to essentially add on and sign off to everything. And it's still in development, obviously. So I don't want to give any final answers, of course.
Mm-hmm.
As far as physical exercises go, something as simple as like doing 2 sets 4 days a week, like that alone, whether it's at the gym or at home doing push-ups and sit-ups, like it's something as simple as that is just huge for a mental barrier in your head that allows you to keep pushing past not only your physical capabilities, but your mental capabilities as well. I think the main goal for this program and really all of the programs on the platform will be to get the point across that whoever's going through the program will know that there's someone out there with half of their talent, but to double their discipline. And because of that, they have stronger self beliefs and they're making more money and probably living a happier life just because they think it's possible, even though they're not as talented or skilled. And I think that's a mental barrier that pretty much anyone could take advantage of, because if most people just doubled their belief in themselves, they'd probably be way more successful, way more happy, and way more healthy on top of that.
Right. So this is a whole like mindset coaching platform as well. Like you're going to be coaching them into how to have and build proper mindsets for a growth-based life. Are you seeking a path to inner peace and personal transformation? Check out my website where I offer free weekly guided meditations designed to help you reconnect with your inner self and navigate your day with mindfulness. Whether you're new to meditation or looking to deepen your practice, our sessions provide a supportive space for growth. Join our community today and start your journey towards a more balanced and conscious life. Visit joegarner.net and sign up for our free weekly meditation. Find the link in the show notes.
Yes, that's the goal. Rebuilding paradigms for people that need it in certain ways. That's kind of what I'm going for. Something very similar to what I've gone through, or it sounds like you've gone through a few times as well.
Yeah, exactly. Just shifting the paradigm, kind of changing the channel that you're tuned into about who you are. That's the biggest key when you're going through these life changes or experiencing, a downturn in your life. It's how do you believe even more in yourself when things around you are kind of falling apart? Because that's where I think we are in society. We've built this societal structure that is clearly not benefiting as many people as it has in the past. And what we're doing is kind of taking that apart. We're moving things around. And in that interim, it looks like things are just falling apart all across the world. It seems like the largest industries in the world are falling apart. That, again, the medical field, some people feel does not have the best interest in the overall health of most patients. It's more about somehow making money and providing, again, I don't think it's all or nothing. I don't think we're on this spectrum, or I think we are on this spectrum. We're not on this like polarity where they're either only doing it for money or they're only doing it to benefit humanity. Like there's the balance between those two is certainly somewhere in the middle, but it does seem that the impetus for a lot of the medical system, especially the larger organizations in the medical system, there's a profit motive behind it. And that profit motive is getting in the way of the outcomes of, a proper health regimen.
Absolutely.
And even, I've one of the sponsors on the show, Purium, which is, these two holistic doctors. They've been in the industry for 30 years. They got together and basically built out a supplement company that uses, they track everything from where where everything is grown all the way through the production level. Like, they're making sure that there's nothing, no additives, no chemicals, nothing that can harm you. And they have taken years and years of their life to put all this stuff together. And, nobody's ever heard about it. Nobody's familiar with it. And yet, on national television, you can get a prescription, advertisement for pretty much anything, the weight loss pills that, may or may not have fairly negative side effects 2, 3, 4 years down the road. You can push those no problem. So
For sure.
if, from your perspective, I mean, what is that like balance between the pharmaceutical industry and a for-profit health industry versus kind of these new, more holistic, more maybe outcome focused versus profit focused companies that may or may not be popping up in the health industry?
I would say that it goes back to like what you were saying, like taking more of a holistic approach, or at least it doesn't even necessarily have to be holistic. I don't know what the exact definition of the word holistic is, but regardless of that, as long as you put the patient's health first or the customer's patient first, either way, that's really all that matters, because a lot of businesses, like you were saying, seem to be more profit minded and business minded, whereas they just have a list of numbers that they try to hit X amount per month, and they don't really care about the effects that may come afterward, type of thing. So I think the biggest thing, in terms of at least what Dr. Telex is doing, we try to take our medications very seriously that we prescribe. We know what pharmacies we're working with and where they're going to. And one of the day, the patient can either use the medication to live more healthily, or they can use it like the weight loss medications, for example. A lot of people are taking weight loss medications, but still have terrible health habits. So they're not getting much benefit from it, or they're eventually getting off the medication and gaining weight right back, So at the end of the day, the doctor has the influence on helping the patient improve their health. And if that's what happens, I don't want to say that's all that matters, but it's kind of all that matters. If that makes sense.
Gotcha.
What I'm saying.
Yeah. And I think a part of that is, the communication and the connection that you have with your doctor. Because I've been to doctor's visits where it's, they ask me 2 questions, they take a couple things. How am I doing? How am I feeling? Anything major that you want to tell me about. And then that's the extent. I will be a doctor for a year. So for them to recommend something to me, it's like, well, you don't know my situation. You don't know anything about me. So yeah, having maybe more of a, I think what telehealth does is it provides a little bit more time for each patient to be with that doctor. You can go, a doctor can go from one 30-minute consultation to another 30-minute consultation without having interruptions and going down different offices and all of that kind of stuff. So I think it does provide some value, and will definitely, it seems to be the future for a majority of the healthcare system. Obviously, again, in person is going to have to be in person for procedures and stuff like that. But hopefully, as far as like a holistic approach, which holistic being you're looking at the entirety of the system versus just a small specific part of the system. I think the current medical system, is roughly parsed out into between 30 and 40 different subsectors of the human body.
Yep.
So you have, the ENT, you've got the cardiologist, you've got the, neurologist, all of these different aspects. They're really good at figuring out what that one aspect of the body is good at. But then getting into, okay, well, if I do this neurologically, what's going to happen to my kidney, my heart, and my lungs? And the neurologist is just like, well, that's for somebody else to kind of figure out. Whereas, that holistic approach is, okay, how do we get all of the systems working together properly so that they are all, at least working somewhat in unison? They're not fighting each other. You don't have negative symptoms from one thing that you're treating, and then also negative symptoms from another thing that you're treating, kind of fighting each other. And, before you know it, the entire health of that being is compromised because, again, I don't think it's done on purpose, but it's just a lack of, the full scope of what that health patient actually needs, which most likely is proper nutrition, sun, a little bit of exercise, maybe pushing the body once or twice a week to a almost failure, or some type of very exerted anaerobic exercise.
Correct.
And that's kind of it. Again, I think the frustration with the healthcare system for some people, and a lot of people, are in and around my age, is that those things that we all know are really, really good for the body are not being talked about in the medical profession. Like, I've never had, my personal doctor has never said, well, I need you to get a little bit more sun. I need you to maybe think about eating a little bit healthier. I mean, at one point I was like 45, 50 pounds overweight. I was almost 200 pounds at 5'9". So I was up there for sure. Yeah. And at no point did any medical professional say, hey, I think you need to lose some weight. I think you need to get, they were all, as long as my heart was beating at the proper rate and, I could see 20 feet, a couple of those letters, like my health was good, checked off, ready to go.
For sure. And I think that's something a lot of people don't realize, because the doctor making money off of you being unhealthy, and that goes to anyone, in any industry. The doctor's making money off of the prescriptions, off of everything that they're doing to keep you coming back to their office. And obviously you should always have a doctor visit, but your health might not be their best interest at the time. It depends on the doctor. Obviously, that's not all of them, but that's definitely a huge part of physical health. And going off of what you were saying as well, I won't jump into all of medications and supplements that I take on a regular basis, but more or less, the only reason I take anything is to enhance the nutrition side that I'm already living, the fitness side that I'm already living, to enhance the healthy habits that I've already implemented into my life. And those medications and supplements are just meant to enhance them, not replace them. And I think that's what a lot of people don't. I wouldn't say they don't understand. They just don't fully believe in it or care enough to actually do it,
Right. Yeah. I think belief is a part of that for sure.
Absolutely.
They grew up, they were, educated in a system where the only thing that really mattered was the food pyramid. Like, that was how you got your intake, got your calories, twice as many carbs as you needed protein and that kind of stuff. And it like, they just refuse to believe that there's a different way to do that. And again, it all goes into, are you willing to change? Are you willing to learn? Are you willing to go against the beliefs that you've held for 10, 20, 30 years? Because that's the tricky part. That is the tricky part, is to, you've built this persona of a person that believes this particular set of beliefs. And then to change that, it feels like death. It feels like you have to almost die to that person and then be born again, this new person.
Absolutely.
And not in any way a religious undertone. Like, literally your cells, every 7 years, almost every single cell in your body dies and is replicated over and over. For some cells, it's it's a 24 or 36 hour cycle. For other cells, it's 4, 5, 6, 7 years. Your cells in your bone are going to replicate a lot slower than the cells in your skin. But it's this old idea that every 7 years you're born again new. Like, you literally have a brand new body because the cells that existed when you were 7 years old or 7 years ago do not exist. And those cells have a memory. They have the ability to store memories and thoughts and ideas inside of them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. This is where quantum mechanics is starting to get us to, where we understand that not only is there a communication between cells, but there's communications between groups of cells, between your the heart and the lungs. There's a communication that is happening between them, and it's not a communication through the nerves. It's a communication through some type of non-physical aspect or electromagnetic frequencies is kind of what it actually is. So again, this communication and understanding that, like, it's a completely different paradigm for people than what they were born into, what they understand, what they could possibly understand. So to be able to shift your perspective that, oh wow, I can literally be a new person every 7 years just by changing my mindset, changing my mentality, changing my eating habits and my physical exercise habits. It's just so powerful.
Absolutely. So something I wanted to add to that, it's kind of, I don't know if philosophy is the right word, but I have a lot of like mental theories that I just think about to try to make my life a little more interesting. And going off of pretty much what you were saying, I have this perspective on life, which is more or less, we are just spirits and bodies roaming around the world, and our spirits and bodies have beliefs that are changing, being replaced, disappearing, appearing, and most of us question them constantly as time goes on, and don't really make final decisions until it's too late. Life is over, kind of idea. And I think a lot of people don't realize that everyone knows that, 5 years ago, I was so dumb in regards to this. I can't believe I believed this 5 years ago. But for some reason, they still believe everything they know and believe right now is 100% true, And that might not be true for everyone, but you get the idea. Some people have that pride where everything I know is right, everyone else is wrong. That's just how some people are. But I think a lot of people, it goes back to what we were saying earlier about just like having the humility to self-improve in different ways. It's just, when like, I'm probably wrong about a lot of the things I believe, and I want to learn more. And I think a lot of people in different ways, but more successful people, seem to want to prove themselves wrong in different ways. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but people are limited, I'll never be a millionaire, and then they prove themselves wrong. That type of thing. Just improving your doubts and self-beliefs as time goes on. But that's kind of my perspective on life as a whole.
Yeah, that's interesting. The idea that you could hold a belief and then break that belief, like, I'll never be a millionaire, and then at some point you become a millionaire.
Yeah.
And I think that journey goes through a whole bunch of iterations to, before you become that millionaire, you actually, you see a couple of the steps, the progress, and then you start to believe, oh, actually, maybe I can be a millionaire.
100%.
Because, at least from my perspective, if you believe that you can never be a millionaire, you will never be a millionaire. Right. You just won't. It will never happen. The inside of your brain, the default mode network, the reticular activating system, these filtering systems are going to filter out any possibility that you're going to become a millionaire, because you have the belief that you will never be a millionaire. So exactly. I think that journey involves a bunch of micro changes along the way, from this belief from childhood. Maybe your uncle told you, maybe you heard it on the news that 98% of people will never be millionaires, and that just kind of stuck inside of you. But it's a bunch of micro changes to that belief to, maybe I can be a millionaire. You get your first $100,000 job a year, and it's like, oh shoot, maybe I can be a millionaire. Maybe this possibility is possible. And then you just keep building on that, and, little changes here and there. And then all of a sudden you've got an investment account, and now you've got somebody who's offering, advice to you for what to do with that excess cash that you're making. And before you know it, now you've built this system around you that I can be a millionaire, and all of a sudden you are. So, again, always being open to change is kind of a part of that. If you're not open to change, then you will be in the same place that you are 5, 10, 15 years from now.
Absolutely. A lot of people live the same day every single day and complain about it just because of that one thing.
Yeah, it boggles my mind. So, but yeah, like you said, I mean, personal responsibility. Like, you are in charge. You are exactly where you are because of the decisions that you've made in your life. And whether you want to believe that they were your decisions or somebody else's decisions, it doesn't really matter. What's going to matter is that you decide now, today, that you're going to take charge of the decisions that you make from here on out, and that you're going to better yourself. And, that is the key to this shift, this change, this ability to move out of an old story and into a new story. So,
absolutely.
So obviously you're moving, you're investing in an online platform, you're investing in, these kind of outside the system approaches. What do you think? What's your perspective here on the future of healthcare at this point? Is it going to kind of fracture and become a bunch of smaller industries, or do you think there's going to be more of a centralization into, almost an overarching healthcare system, but hopefully is a little bit more aligned with the outcomes versus the profits?
So my thoughts in terms of the future of overall healthcare, I don't know how much you've dug into the whole world of like AI and technology as a whole. Obviously, that's a whole separate conversation that a lot of people are already having. But I would say, whether it's AI or just modern technology in general, there's definitely going to be sides where people are going to use AI and technology for things that are not healthy and don't promote a healthy lifestyle. And then there's going to be the side that obviously is a healthier side. And I'm not just saying technology in terms of like telehealth necessarily. I mean, that goes for like the prebiotic sodas, and like healthier protein shakes, healthier snacks, everything regarding overall health, whether that's nutrition, fitness, whatever it might be. It's going to be more accessible and easier to live your life that way, but it will also be easier to live your life in an unhealthy way. Movie, is it Wall-E, where all the the obese people are sitting in chairs floating around? I definitely believe there's going to be a split difference there where people are going to lean more towards that type of lifestyle, and then there's going to be a good chunk of people that do change as time goes on. But obviously, my thoughts right now in terms of which way it'll go more towards. I actually just got back last week from a longevity convention in Las Vegas. And what blew my mind the most about my time there is that a lot of people in the healthcare industry don't know that much about sales and marketing, or they're not very good at it. One of the two. Obviously, that's my perspective coming from a sales and marketing background. But a lot of people that I talked to and approached me, they did not sell me whatsoever. Like, I was just very turned off by their communication skills. I mean, you get the idea, just some people are better at being people skill minded, or you get the idea, just better at being social in the first place. So my thoughts right now are, if a lot of these people that are coming out with new treatments or new medications, which a lot of them are good, and I'm not saying all of them, but the ones that are good and should be promoted more, I think a lot of them should focus more on the sales and marketing side of it so that they can help more people, and grow their own business. I mean, it's a 2-for-1 deal that way. And hopefully if we take that approach more, and, hopefully like things like what I'm doing, online programs, stuff that's not a few $1,000s at the hospital type of thing, I'm hoping that will eventually shift the world into a more affordable, healthcare minded world and less from a, like you were saying, hospitals and bigger name companies that are just reaping benefits from profits and looking at people more as numbers instead of patients.
Yeah, I definitely think that that's a part where AI is going to play a big role. It's playing a role for me currently in my business. You know, I'm implementing some AI protocols that are helping me connect with new people and find clients. And, I think that'll be a huge part of this. So it's definitely a part of that journey where I think smaller organizations, people with new ideas, get a foothold. They're at the same level as these organizations that have been around for 20, 30, 50, 100 years that know, okay, you've got entire tranches of their organization dedicated only to selling their products and selling it in a way that has, we've never fully understood the power of, persuasion when it comes to these types of things. And it is interesting that, America, I think, is one of 2 countries that allows the marketing of pharmaceuticals. It's pretty much outlawed everywhere else in the world. So, maybe that is something that's ripe for change in the country as well.
For sure.
But yeah, I love the approach. I love the idea that, we need these new ideas. There's tons of new ideas, perspectives, ways to approach healthcare, mental agility, mental strength. For sure. And that, it does seem like, at least from my perspective, that it's almost becoming fully distributed where you'll have, a leader, somebody who is somewhat of a leader, like somewhat at the forefront of an industry, distributed out all over the world. And that, the idea that you have to be in the same physical location of that person is kind of going out the window. So, again, I can do a meditation with people in every single time zone in the world right now, and I can do it fairly easily. It's not that much technology that requires it. So if we can have that and we can build that, and again, that kind of hopefully puts the lid on these like massive organizations that get built up. I could see it as oversight. There's like an oversight organization that is making sure that everybody's kind of following along, doing somewhat recommended procedures. There's not people just kind of, snake oil salesmen out there. Yeah. But that is the extent of like the organization. And then everybody else is just doing their own thing. They're independent, whether it's doctors, independent contractors, and just moving towards a system, a healthcare system that is a little bit more decentralized in that way. So that's my ideas. That's what I think we should be moving towards. And, I think you're a part of that as well. So, So, for anyone who is looking to maybe connect with you, maybe check out your fitness platform, what's the best place to send them?
So I would say the most active thing that I'm on is LinkedIn. Unfortunately, being part of the mental health and cognitive function program, I'm not against social media, but I don't really participate in social medias. But it is something that I know I'm going to have to jump into, especially with connecting with people. So I would tell people to look for me on LinkedIn, and Twitter is the other one that I want to be more active on. So you can either look DJ Vandiventer, or I think that's it actually. But I don't think there's any that's mutual there. But anyone can connect with me there. They can learn more about the platform. We're still building out the website and developing everything for Fitness Blueprints, but we're hoping by maybe February or so, we'll have a couple programs up there launched and hopefully have some really good deals for the launch of the platform.
Beautiful. Yeah, I'll make sure I add those LinkedIn and Twitter handles to the show notes. So if you want to connect with DJ, click on down there. Other than that, thanks for coming on the show. Really appreciate you taking the time to kind of fill us in on the medical system, where we're at, what some of these potential futures might actually look like. Welcome to Changing the Channel with Joe Garner, a show about shifting our individual and collective beliefs on what is possible for the future of humanity. As our understanding of how our reality continues to shift, we are at a point of reunification between science and spirituality. What does the world look like when we break free from the generational trauma that has kept most humans playing small for thousands of years and step into our full power as the co-creators of this reality? I always ask that you keep an open mind with this podcast. Ask yourself what resonates with my truth at this time and what does not. Respect your intuition, but see if you can get through the whole show, because there might be that little nugget buried deep in the conversation that unlocks something for you.